Good day, podcast community. PeteKane here, podcaster, coach, and community builder. And we have a very special podcast. A gentleman I met on LinkedIn. And when I saw his profile, I said, man, I want to get Jamie on the show. We just chatted before we came on air about a little bit about my journey, wasn't about yours. So I want to know more about Jamie. So Jamie, tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve, and then we'll get into our podcast.
So my name is Jamie Hughes. I'm a recent college graduate, and I most recently my work for the past 8 years has been in the retail industry. Um, I worked as a contractor within a Target store, mostly selling cell phones, but gradually that became more of a general tech help. Unfortunately, that program is getting shut down as of this Saturday, so I am about to be in between jobs. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I was already going to look for a new job anyway on account of graduating college, but this is kind of adding a little bit of urgency to it.
Mm-hmm. What would you say now? We connected by being neurodiverse. What would you the people that don't understand that term, would you be able to share with them what that means to you?
The term I've used since I was a kid is if you know in the tech industry, an operating system is like the stuff that your computer uses to run applications. And I would say it's like your brain runs a different operating system. You just feel different. You well, everything's connected in the brain. You feel different, you act different, you think different. Um, that's more or less what it's been for me.
Hmm. When did you discover that you thought differently than other people? Was it a gradual thing, or was it all of a sudden you just knew you were different?
I think it was gradual, but like when I was diagnosed very young, like before I even really knew I didn't understand what neurodiversity meant on a basic level when I was a kid. I just knew that I misbehaved a lot, got in trouble a lot in school, and eventually ended up from third to sixth grade in a specialty school for specifically for people with this what's the term, developmental disabilities.
Hmm.
Um, and that kind of made a big impact on my childhood, especially on my education, because the way these schools are set up is they have to account for people with very diverse levels of capabilities. And
Hmm.
in a number of ways, it did lead to some like falling back academically speaking. I still can't do multiplication or division very well because my math education kind of stalled at grade three. Um, I guess from then on, I never really had an appreciation for education until adulthood when I went into college and realized as an adult, I've developed a lot of the mental skills that allow me to succeed academically.
Hmm. We were talking briefly, but I spent two times trying to get out of Virginia Tech unsuccessfully. And I always lacked confidence in education because I felt that I wasn't on the same page as the teachers and the people around you. Did you, when you first stepped into college, did you have a rough time adjusting to the pace and the schedule of these courses and what you were learning in college?
In college, it was actually more of like an embracing it.
Really?
Um, like I said, I at that point in my life, I knew I wanted to become greater, basically. Um, I had been in retail for already quite a while at that point, and I realized I couldn't live my life off of that kind of, that kind of wage.
Hmm.
So, in a way that kind of pushed me through college, knowing that I'm building myself towards something better.
Mm-hmm.
And it was also in college, you're doing a lot of work in stuff that you already enjoy. I was an English major, so it was a lot of writing classes, humanities classes, things that like if it were like math classes, I would be really struggling. But
Mm-hmm.
and I was required to take one math class, but um, even then I decided to just give it my all, and I think I came out of it with a B or something.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
How has
yeah.
what do you think being like we are, how has that helped you in your resilience? I mean, we have to learn differently. Did you develop a muscle for resilience because of just being different than others?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I've been through a lot of adversity in my life. Um, and it kind of taught me to just stick around, wait for things to get better, basically.
Mhm. Wow. What do you think when you look at your journey right now? You've graduated, you've accomplished that. What do you see? What are you excited about in the future of this next step, this next part of your journey?
The biggest thing for me is being able to upgrade my living circumstances. The apartment I'm doing this call from is very small. I've um maxed out what I can do with it. So I'm
Mhm.
hoping I know this is like the one thing you never say in a career space that you're just in it for the money, but um having a increase in my financial circumstances would greatly help me have a better life in that sense.
Mm. If you had a magic wand and you could describe the ideal position for Jamie, what would it be like?
It depends, I guess, on my personal aspirations and my career aspirations because currently those are somewhat separate. I do a lot of creative writing. So that is something I enjoy doing in my personal time is writing stories. And I do have a hope that if I wrote, like, say, my novel, that I would get it published and become famous that way. But I am also a realist in the sense that the odds of that happening are extremely slim. So you don't want to base your future around that. Um,
Mhm.
so I guess career wise, my goal is to get a job as a kind of professional writer. Um,
Mhm.
that would include things like copywriting, content writing, journalism. Um, and I don't know exactly which one of those I would fit well in. I've done
Mhm.
content writing and journalism as internships in my college career. Um, yeah.
You know, when there was a gentleman that I liked and I followed him because I enjoyed marketing and figuring things out and strategy. But I was fired 5 times, I quit 5 times, so I had a lot of different jobs, and I gained experience from so many, and this guy said way back when, this was probably 20 years ago, he said, "Get as many positions as you possibly can, get as much experience. You don't know where you're gonna really thrive until you try. So getting in, getting your hands dirty, trying different things. And I definitely can say that has benefited me because being fired 5 times, I know what it's like. Quitting because it wasn't right, I know what it's like. So when you say creative writing, because my partner, he's written, I want to say at least 400 books. And he is a machine when it comes to writing. And I always admired him because that was not me. I mean, I couldn't write a paragraph if you had a gun to my head before voice to text. So when you say writing, what when you get down and you write, do you have to have like a place where you do that, or it doesn't matter? You just enjoy writing and you just get into the momentum, the what do you call it? The zone.
I mean, I can force myself to write if, especially if there are less distractions in my environment. Um, I don't tend to do my best writing unless I'm in the mood for it. Um,
Hmm.
ironically, I probably shouldn't admit to doing this in case one of my bosses is listening, but I spent a lot of my downtime at work doing my writing. Because at the Target I work at, the traffic can come and go, and there's often
Hmm.
times where I'm just left alone for at least an hour. Um, so the writing helped keep my head straight, both in my job, like it helped me keep focused when customers did show up, and it also well gave me the ability to put out writing that this my writing is published online. It's a fan fiction for Tui T. Sutherland's Wings of Fire series. And
Hmm.
I've developed an audience for it, including a number of people who I've become friends with. One of the people I met through my writing came up from North Carolina to meet with me during my to be with me during my graduation.
Wow, that's neat that you develop that connection through something you enjoy and that person enjoy. What would you say? Because we're seeing it happen right now. AI is changing a lot of how we're doing things. And I read something where Eric Schmidt, he spoke at some commencement, and he mentioned the innovative nature of AI, and he was booed by the people in the audience. What do you think about AI, and how do you think it can help you in your journey?
I have a number of opinions on it.
Mhm.
I did use AI in a limited fashion during my content writing job. So I do have experience with what it can do for writers.
Mhm.
And ultimately, I decided if you need something that's just boilerplate text, nothing that has any like creative spark in it, it can put out like a lot of that. But as a skilled writer, I've found myself relying a lot more on my own abilities to produce content.
Mm. Yeah, my partner, this is probably 4 years ago, and he would say, Pete, because he now has an AI agency and he's very involved in it, wrote models, and we use them in our with our team in the Philippines. But what he kept saying is, Pete, how are you using AI? And I'd say, I don't have time for that. I love my podcasting. I love my coaching. I just don't want to mess with it. But he kept after me. Then when I did my first course 3.5 years ago, he gave me a framework. Then I put HI, me, on top of it. So it kind of did 80%, but I did the 20% that made it mine. And we always say HI will trump AI. You're younger than obviously me. It's changing the world rapidly. What are your friends saying about AI? Because I'm hearing various things as I talk to my younger generation. What are you
A,
hearing
a,
out
a lot of the people I talk with online are very anti-AI. It is a sentiment that it is destroying creative industries. And even the rhetoric you hear from the people who are pushing AI tends to be, I don't know how to describe it. I'm not a marketing person, but I feel like they're shooting themselves in the foot when it comes to marketing AI because they're talking about it
there?
in a sense that it can destroy everyone's jobs and then somehow expecting people to like hearing that.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I was listening to a podcast and he was sharing how they've done a very poor job of communicating the benefits of it. It's just you hear eliminating jobs, eliminating industries, eliminating this. There's disruption coming, but he used this one example. When they had AT&T operators, there was 880,000 of them that would be on a switchboard connecting, the 800 number to the area. And that was wiped out through technology. And it created, I don't know if this is an exact number, but like 5 million telemarketing positions as a result. So it's like some people were displaced, but it created a massive industry that enabled that change and that transformation to be not as bad. But if you're an operator plug-in back then and you're eliminated, you're probably thinking, oh, it's bad. But the telemarketer got a job, and as a result of technology was really glad. What are you doing with it right now that's helping you? Just give us a little idea of how you're using it.
I guess, like I said before, I used it in that position I was in previously. I have not used it
Mhm.
since. Especially when it comes to my creative writing, that is something I consider almost sacred to myself. I would not
Mhm.
let AI touch that stuff. Especially because among a lot of people, if they figure out your work was touched in any way by AI, it can damage your reputation as a writer,
Mhm.
especially when it
Yeah.
comes to creative writing. Um, I guess realistically, if I get into a job, the professional writing side of things, and they want me using AI, in that case, I would use it then. Um,
Hmm.
it's it's the same way I approach the tool on my computer that I use to write. I don't have a Microsoft Office subscription. I instead use other programs like LibreOffice or Apple Pages, which are both free. Um, but I guess that's kind of my approach. The only time I would use Microsoft Office is if it was given to me by my job.
Hmm. A person introduced this to me. She was a content person that I've known for years, and she's always on the cutting edge of what's going on out there. And so she called me and said, Pete, have you tried Notebook LM, which is Google's um, AI? And I said, no. And so I started playing with it, and I really like it for studying. When I when I read a book, I was never really good at comprehending, but I'll put that book in chat GPT. I'll get the 10 highlights. I'll then put it in Notebook LM, and I'll get a podcast, a video, a slideshow. And then I look at those. Then I finally read it. And now I'm reading probably a book a week and comprehending 10 times what I used to be able to comprehend, because I think my brain is more familiar with what the book's about. So, have you ever tried Notebook M? Is that something that you are familiar with at all?
I've heard the name. I haven't used a program.
Okay. Okay. Because my daughter is a homeschooler, and she has four of my grandkids, and they're different ages, and they're learning, and there's something I introduced it to her, and they haven't really started it, but it's only been about 6 months that I said something to you. When you're not like, what do you like to do for kind of enjoyment? How do you break away from the regular routine and do that relax, or what do you like to do for enjoyment?
So you might have seen on my LinkedIn profile, I do go hiking sometimes. In fact, that's
Mm.
one of the things I did with my friend when he came up to visit my hometown. There's a number of really nice spots, like natural areas around where I live. that I wanted to show him, and it's places I often go, especially if the weather's nice. I also have a hobby in photography.
Mhm.
It's one of the minors I took in college. So
Mm.
if I'm going to one of these scenic locations, I'll often bring my camera with me and take pictures of what I
Mhm.
see.
Ooh, that's beautiful. I before my stroke, I probably had one journal, and now I'm closing in on 20. And I get on my porch like outside because I'm not able to walk like most. So I bike at the gym to just keep my legs moving. But I'm able to kind of go out there on the porch, like with nature. And I have an app called Merlin, and it'll identify birds. And you can see how birds talk to each other. It's like crazy because they're going back and forth, and you see it highlighted. But it was like you just said, nature has an incredible way of connecting. And it just writing, I love it because it's quiet and I can just write. And if you would have told me I would have almost 20 journals 4 years ago, I would have told you you're crazy because I did not like to write and I wouldn't write. And I was kind of like bottled up. What do you think when you are in nature? Because I'm a geek when it comes to that. What do you like most? Do you observe? Is it being outside? What really excites you when you're on those hikes?
I think the feeling overall is just the feeling of being part of something that's bigger than yourself. Because
Hmm.
it's like when you're in a town or in your house, like you're surrounded only by things that humans have made. It's
Hmm.
and it is definitively a human-centric environment. But when you're in nature, you're in a nature-centric environment. And you start to realize that the world isn't entirely built around you.
Hmm. Yes. You know, I have these conversations with people because I'm quite a bit older. I'm 68 going on 69. So um, life teaches us lessons. And there's an exercise where you send 10 people an email or a text and you say, "What do you think I do best?" And then they send it back and it's like, "Ooh, I didn't realize that." What do people say about Jamie that you don't like? Because we only see ourselves through our eyes, we don't get the perspective of others. Have you been able to listen to what people say about you that helps to identify your superpower at all?
I would say, I mean, a lot of the people I've talked with and received feedback from were giving feedback on my writing. So I guess this might be a little
Mm.
biased towards my writing skills, but I have been
Mhm.
told that I have a talent for writing. I should say when I say writing, I mean writing on a computer. I haven't been diagnosed with dysgraphia, but I've always had trouble with handwriting. I
Mhm.
can do it. I can do it these days, but my handwriting looks very, I would say, unique. Um,
Yes.
um, but yeah, I would say when it comes to skills I have, I would say writing and photography are probably my two biggest skills.
Hmm. Yeah, there's a gentleman that's a close friend of my daughter's, and he owned a gym for years, and he would always do photography on the side. Now he travels all over the country doing photography as his full-time gig. And we were talking the other day, and I asked him how things are going. He goes, I get to do what I love, and I get to travel all over the world and all over the country and see things. And he did it on the side, and now he does it as a living. I mean, he does Airbnbs, he does a lot of Chick-fil-A business, and they takes him to spots he would never be able to see. But that's where that photography has just blossomed into an incredible career. Do you like have you invested in certain cameras that you like that you could share with us?
That is, well, that is of course the main barrier to photography is a lot of the equipment is extremely expensive. The camera I own is one of the cheapest new DSLRs you can buy. It's a Canon Rebel T7. Um, and it's just using what's referred to as kit lenses, which are the lenses that it comes with, which they've worked. It's gotten me through all my photography classes in college, but the general consensus is if you want to do real professional photography, you have to get the upgraded lenses, maybe a slightly better camera, but the lenses alone often are thousands of dollars.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, the camera I've had was the Rebel T7, which is generally considered a good like starter camera.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but as unless I like I said, unless I got myself a much better income, I would probably not be able to afford any of the nicer cameras.
Yeah. It's a journey, and we this Christmas my oldest granddaughter is 12, and my sister's my daughter's father-in-law, helps out at this thrift place that serves um, people with drug addiction, and they always get lots of cool things that came in, and this camera came in, and we looked it up on Amazon. It was like $2,500, and the lens that was in there was $700. So we're looking at a $3,000 camera. We were going crazy because it was somebody just, we thought gave it to just wanted to get rid of it. But what we discovered, it had a black spot. We can't haven't been able to figure it out. But so it's not
On
working. But
the
it just
does it come? Oh, yeah. Does it come out on the picture? The
no, it
pictures
just
have a
is
black spot.
it's just completely black when you look in it. It's just you don't see anything. So I'm sure the person that donated it couldn't figure it out. Now we haven't been able to figure it out either, but it's a beautiful lens. I mean, it's a Canon and the lens is $700, but we can't use the camera because the camera doesn't work. So it's like when we looked at it, we were going crazy because he bought it like for $50 or something from, he can buy things if he sees a need for it. But yeah, it's just like actually do a live event every 60 days. And I was asking my granddaughter if she'd come and take pictures, even off the iPhone. We just needed somebody to, I want to get experience for younger people because you never know. She loves taking pictures. She'll come over and take my iPhone and she'll take all kinds of pictures, and they'll play with their sisters and they'll do poses and stuff like that. What do you think when you look at, like, are you open to move, or do you like the area that you're currently in?
I very much like the area I live in for multiple reasons. It's the place I
Hmm.
grew up. It's where my family is. And my family especially is a reason I would much prefer to stay where I live is because
Hmm.
I realize I'm not going to have my father forever.
Hmm.
I lost my mother to colon cancer when I was starting college, and
Hmm.
it made me realize I need to cherish my family while I still have it. So that's why
That's,
that's why I'm planning to stick around here.
ooh,
I'm
that's
I guess
beautiful.
I am willing to move like to the next city over. Like I could move to Philly, I could move to Harrisburg. Sorry, I kind of just gave away possibly where I live there, but um yeah, the problem
But
with
you want to
moving
be
to
closer. Yeah,
the
you want to
other
be
well
close.
the other
Hmm.
problem is moving to a major city. If it was an in-person job, rather than a remote job where I would if I had to move to a major city, that would also come with an increased cost of living. Because
Yeah.
the apartments and the apartments in the town I live in are expensive, but not like you need six figures expensive, like an apartment in New York would be. Um,
Yes. Yeah. No, and today there's more flexibility about where people live because you have hybrid situations where people can work, in a location and not be in the city. I know we're seeing it in Atlanta that being downtown is not because there's more things happening like Waymos are coming in, cyber cabs are coming in. So you have these autonomous driving that's going to open up areas where you can live further out, where it's less, because you're right. When you live in a big city, you take on the rents and the expenses of a big city. I want to be respectful of your time. Tell our viewers, like, what is the best way to get a hold of Jamie if they're out there, they listen to you and they go, man, I need a creative writer that has that talent. How can they get a hold of you?
so job search wise, I'm on three platforms. I'm on Indeed, I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm on Handshake. Handshake was an interesting one because I had not heard of it before, but it's
Mhm.
partnered with my university, so I got access to it through there. But I would say the best would probably be LinkedIn since it does have
Okay.
better communication aspect to it.
Hmm.
Um, and
Well, I
it's
want
how
to
you met. Yeah,
encourage. Yeah,
it's how you met
exactly.
me. Yeah.
Yeah, so true. I want to encourage our viewers to share this. If you know somebody that needs a creative writer, needs somebody with Jamie's talent, share this with them, introduce him to them so he can get that right opportunity, that best opportunity as he's going on to his next chapter in his career. So what would be the one thing you would want our viewers to take home from our time on this podcast?
I would say on the theme of neurodiverse people, we're often, I mean, the term diverse comes to mind. We have a very diverse range of abilities.
Hmm.
And I think too often we're seen as incapable rather than capable. So I would, yeah, if you're looking to hire someone who's neurodiverse, definitely take a good look into what they're capable of rather than what they're not capable of.
Oh, that's great, great advice. Jamie, thank you so much. And if you want to hang around for a couple minutes afterward, I have some ideas I'd like to run by you and suggest and just make you aware of. So thank you so much for being a guest on our podcast. It was a pleasure to have you on there. I love my neurodiverse community and I appreciate you being a guest on our podcast.
I don't think